Hi, in this video, I want to share with you this idea of hexagonal thinking. So hexagonal thinking is using a hexagon to kind of connect main ideas, main characters, main symbols, those big ideas that you might learn in a unit, to connect them and kind of give rationale for them. So I'll link to some information that gives you some more in-depth understanding of that, but let's go ahead with a tutorial of how to make a template on Google Slides. So I need to first go to my shapes, and then because it's a hexagon with 6 sides, I'm going to click this 6 right here. And when I'm making shapes like this, I like to hold down the shift button so that it makes it perfect. So like a square, this would be a perfect hexagon by holding down the shift button. I'm just going to make it about that size right there. And I'm going to give it some effects that I want. Like I do want it to have maybe a black border color, maybe a little bit thicker right there. And I'm going to start duplicating these. So I'm just going to use Command D, give myself quite a few here. And then I am going to, you have the option here. You can kind of arrange these and connect them together for students, or you can kind of set them off to the side and let students arrange them as well. I'm just going to spend a little bit of time here doing a simple arrangement and changing the color. All right, so we got some hexagons here, and I deleted some. You can certainly add more, or you can leave out a few. But what I would do next is I would take a text box, and we put a text box over here, and I would probably start off by giving this text box kind of maybe a semi-transparent background here. Okay, so we'll say something like that, so that when I put it over, and I'm going to resize it a bit so I know how easily it'll fit onto a hexagon right there. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate some of these hexagon, or some of these labels right here, and I'm going to fill them in with terms about my unit. So when we come back to the video, you'll see some of those. All right, so now that I have these terms that I'm going to use, I would give this to students, whether that's making a copy for them on Google Classroom or anything like that. And what they would need to do, and they can rearrange these hexagons as needed, but they would take what they believe to be kind of like one of the most important things. So maybe Jonas, he goes in the center right here. This is the giver, by the way. And they would need to figure out, okay, what things does Jonas connect to? Which of these words right here? And maybe we put Gabriel over here, and maybe we put, the giver here. So we're going to make these connections as well, and then maybe they want to move this one over here because maybe something connects with both memory and Gabriel. So they can kind of move these around as needed, but each time that a hexagon is touching something, it should connect to both of those. So they might have like some sort of hexagon that looks like this, where they have all these different things that maybe they're not connecting as on all sides, but just a couple. Okay, so this is usually something you're going to be doing in a group, so the group's kind of working on this together. Now, throughout this part, there should be lots of discussion as to why these things connect, and a lot of thinking about others' ideas and listening to them, and trying to figure out, okay, what is the best connection? Okay, now once this is done, that's great. That's a great way to think about these terms. But it's going to be helpful. It's going to take it the next step if students can explain this. So you might tell students, okay, now that you're done with this, I want you to, explain some of these connections. So maybe they're going to explain Jonas and memory, and maybe that's going to be their first connection that they explain. And maybe their next connection is going to be the giver and utopia. So you might have them explaining these connections in a variety of ways. Maybe they're recording it on a flip grid and they're screencasting this. Maybe you have them make a new slide and the group is typing the reflection, and this one links to that slide. So that's another way that you can do it. Maybe you just kind of have like some very short sentences explaining these, and they present in class. But I just recently ran into hexagonal thinking again, and thought that it would be a great strategy for some deeper level thinking, whether that's in class together or virtually.